first thing you have to do with Word is to name your document. We don't want to see this file name at the top when it's in the browser or in the PDF viewer. Give it a nice title that tells people the document that they're looking at. And to do this, and it's actually the same process both for Excel and for PowerPoint, you go to File, and it may be a little bit slow because I've got lots of things going. You go to File. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Info, and you pop your title in here. There you go. So that's your title. Oops, and there should be obviously capital letters, but I'm just demonstrating. Go back, and your title is saved in there, although you can't see it at the moment. I promise you it is there. So everything in your document must be in a logical reading order. So that includes thinking about headings. If you set up headings at the beginning of making your document, it will make life a lot easier for you, as I'm going to go on and demonstrate. So we have a title here, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, so that can be heading 1 or H1, and it's preset for you in the template, so just click, and there you've got a heading. And when you're thinking about headings, just think through your document and the weighting of how different headings kind of relate to each other, which can get a bit complex in bigger documents. But for example, if you can see here, introduction and conclusion, they pretty much carry the same weight. So they can both be heading 2s, looking exactly the same. So make sure all headings are tagged in the ribbon. We'll go with a heading 3 to break up our story. If you want to amend any styles, in most cases, I think in Word, you probably don't need to. You just right click, modify, and you've got your nice WYSIWYG editor here, so you can make changes and it will amend anything that's tagged as that particular heading. So what you mustn't do is just bold something or italicize something to try and make a point or make something stand out. Always make sure that if you do that, it is tagged and registered up here. So you can just pick some text that you want to highlight. If you go up here and click this arrow, you've got options to apply styles. So you can apply different styles to the text to change it and have it registered. And if a style is missing in this, like you want to, maybe you go down the scale and you want a header 5 or a header 4, you can go here again, you can create a new style, and then you can modify and you can choose how that style should look. Okay, so that's a lot about headers. So tables. Tables can get very complicated and they can be very long. So make sure that they are just kept as simple as they can be. Make sure there's no blank spaces. If you have a cell there's nothing in it, make sure you put a dash, just so that there is something in that cell to acknowledge that it's there, and just make it easier to follow. We don't need a dash there, obviously. So there's a few things that you have to do for tables in Word that you don't have to do in other programs. The first one is the header row. So highlight that. It's hard to see my highlight because of the color, but highlight that. Oop. That was highlighted. Right click. Table properties. This is quite important. First of all, I'll show you. It's quite important that repeat as header row at the top of each page is clicked, especially if a table is very long. Because if you've just got pages of cells, it's really good to have that reference point at the top of the page so that everybody knows what the cells and the columns are referring to. And that's really good, not just if you're disabled in some way, but also if you're not, to have that point of reference. And always unclick this. Do not allow any rows to break across pages, because then you sometimes end up with bits of text at the bottom which appear to look on their own and it's a bit disjointed and harder to read. So it's really important that you do that. It's also really important for tables that they have a title. So just put that in the field and then description of table. So obviously you wouldn't put description of table, you'd write something very relevant to what the table is showing. And the last thing for tables, and unfortunately you do have to highlight the whole table to find this option. So it's probably worth doing this while your table is still small and you're setting it up. If you right click, insert caption. So automatically it will just say figure. That's just how it's kind of pre-configured. So you can change that to table 1 and then just have a description. Can't type. Description. Which would be something like, I don't know, the caterpillar's week or something like that. So talking about alt text and captions. That's not, these are you need for anything basically that's visual and not text. So you need it for graphs, photos, flowcharts, graphs, graphics. So we've got a very lovely image down here. This will need some alternative text or alt text, so that if someone is using a screen reader which reads out everything on the page to them, they still know that there's an image there and what the image is. So right click, you can either just go straight into edit alt text, or you can right click format picture, which is probably the better option. This little symbol up here, which you've probably seen before because it's the same in PowerPoint. So you can put, I don't know, image 1 or something more description, a butterfly. So that, and you'll see that the text comes up in both boxes. I'm not sure why that is. It's just a thing that Word has, but it's much better to have a title so people know what they're looking at. So you've got your alt text set there. You can also you can caption images. However, if an image is not nice and central, like it is on this Word page here, if it's like maybe in a column and slightly to the left, the caption won't sit nice and flush and it looks terrible. So I wouldn't worry too much about images themselves. However, you do need captions for any graphs. You do need captions for flowcharts. Flowcharts are just one block of image, and that's inaccessible to something like a screen reader. And they might be complicated for people with other kinds of reading or learning difficulties. So it's really important that in your caption you spell out exactly what that flowchart or that graph is showing, just so, particularly with flowcharts, so they can understand that there's A and that becomes B or however it's linked up. So it's really, really important to remember. So as well as labeling, so next we go on to spacing. As well as labeling your headers, you should also label your body text. And we've set this up so that the spacing is kind of predetermined.